Dr. Clyde Posley, and welcome again to Moves That Matter. I'm excited to have you guys with us this week. I want to remind you that not only can you tune in here on Facebook Live and get the podcast, but you can go to my YouTube channel. You can go to Instagram, Twitter, my website, drclydeposley.com. You can get the uploaded videos, several videos from the past, various topics we've discussed. So please find a way to get in on what we're doing, and we are addressing some issues that are relevant not only to the African American culture, but to the greater American society at large. Today I want to remind you about my book, More Than Icons and Images, Uncovering the Hidden Protest Narrative of the Black American Athlete in the 21st Century. There I give kind of a history to African American male protest in America, culminating with the October 16, 1968 medal stand protest by Tommy Smith and John Carlos. I want to jump into our major topic that we've been dealing with, saving our African American males. When I come back, I'm going to have two very powerful, brilliant guests with me today, and they're going to be kind of helping me co-host today, and they're going to be discussing this topic. I have some instructions I'd like to give you. I want you to comment so we can engage with what you have to say. But also, I want you to hit share. I'd like to get 50 shares. If 50 of you who are watching would share it, then at least 100 people will receive from the blessing that you sow. Sister, if you have a son, we're trying to help your son. Sister, if you have a husband, we're trying to help your husband. You're trying to help your father. God cares about the African American males. You don't want to miss this conversation we have when we come back. We'll be right back. We're back, and we have with us again our guest to discuss this very important subject, saving our African American males. And we can do this. Our African American males can be saved. It's just a matter of us engaging in conversation that can lead to some boots on the ground behavior. We have with us again Brother Eric Simmons, who I'll give an opportunity to introduce himself. A friend of mine for over 40 years. We grew up together. Also have Mr. Floyd with us. Mr. Simmons, kind of talk to us about, introduce yourself and kind of let us know when it comes to African American males, what's on your mind.
Again, I'm Eric Simmons. Clyde and I grew up together. What's on my mind is saving these young men out here. This is my passion. This is my ministry. And at the end of the day, if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
That's right.
The cavalry's not coming. We're the cavalry.
That's right. What kind of work are you doing in the community as vocation?
I'm currently Director of Security at Phelan Leadership Academy, and I'm also over student behavior. So I come in contact with many young men who are trying to navigate through this maze that we call life.
It's a good word.
So I am committed to this work. The Lord has guided me in this direction, and I know that we're going to make a change here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and hopefully around the world.
Mr. Floyd, tell us about yourself.
All right. Eric Floyd, and so I'm an educator as well as a business owner of Rosie's Tiny Tots Daycare Ministry here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And so this is a passion of mine. Of course, I have young men of my own, too. And so I'm very concerned about the world that they're entering into or will be as adults and how they're going to navigate this world, as well as the babies that I am overseeing each day at Rosie's Tiny Tots, and how am I adding value to them? How am I building them up as God has given me the opportunity to do so? And how am I making an impression on them so that they live good and better lives?
Okay.
Right.
That's powerful. Listen, so at the end of last week's show, we got into solutions. We started talking about what are some steps that we can take as African American men, as educators, as those who are socio-politically involved in the plight of African American males. And you guys brought up some very interesting topics. I think Brother Simmons brought up visibility. Yes. Taking steps to get further into the purview of the young black male.
Absolutely.
And then I think Mr. Floyd kind of brought it. Mr. Floyd, kind of talk to us about what your solution was, and then we'll go back to Mr. Simmons.
So we talked about relationships, not men not being afraid, men and boys not being afraid to talk to one another, to bear the soul, to bear this is what is going on with me, and being honest about it.
Let me ask you something. Why do you think, what makes you believe that young black men have reservations about interacting on that level with adult black men?
Well, as men, males, we're raised to hide our emotions. Women are emotional. Men are not emotional. And therefore, men's feelings are hidden. And so we don't talk about those type of things. Those are things you just hide and suck it up mentality.
That's right.
Suck it up, endure. We fall down, put some dirt on it. And not get the true medication to be able to have the healing process you need. And so I believe it's fear of showing weakness. If I share my emotions, if I share what's going on with me, whoever's receiving it, are you going to feel some kind of way about me? Are you going to feel like, well, you're weak, you're emotional? That's not how men respond. And so we have to create, in my opinion about it, we have to create space for men to share and be honest with who we are and what's going on within us.
That's true. A couple of factors, I think, speak to that before I throw this to Mr. Simmons about his solution. A lot of, Joy DeGree wrote a book, Post-Traumatic Slave Disorder.
Yeah, I read that.
And in the book, it is notion that the treatment of leadership has been so harsh historically in the lives of black people. We don't trust leadership.
Right.
And I see it as a trick of the enemy because every black man learns black manhood from other black men. Not that white men can't participate, but to be a black man primarily is best taught by other black men. That's an African tradition that we have embraced. And contrary to what people think, Christianity started in Africa.
Sure.
It's not a white man's religion. It was born from Africa. And the tapestry in history proves that those traditions we're indigenous to those traditions. So we didn't get our religion from white people.
Right.
We the first black college was in Timbuktu. That's all black.
Right.
But getting back to, but another issue relative to that is that some hurting people hurt other people.
Sure.
And so many African American males are acting out pains and traumas from traumatic experience that the black males who raised them put in their lives. Straps, pains, evil, hatred. And they had no other outlet, so they brought it home. And they, instead of kicking the dog, they kicked the son.
Sure.
Yeah. Mr. Simmons, what you talked about visibility, kingdom men being more visible. Talk a little more about that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that, man, we have to get out, all boots on deck. We got to get out and hit these streets and go get these young men, because they're not going to come to the church house. A lot of them are not. We can bring the church to them. And like my wife says, church is the healer for humanity.
That's right.
We got to get them, save their lives, and then let's go for saving their souls.
We are Matthew 5 says we're two things. A friend of mine, Pastor Hudson, notioned it earlier today. We are salt and light. The world has no other way to be salted than the church. There is no other light than the church. Listen, I want to talk a little bit about politics relative to the African American male, because I don't think that there is any upgrading the plight of the African American male in America without political participation and intelligent political participation. We have a president unlike we've ever had. And I am discovering, just as a philosopher and a thinker and a writer, just observing, there's a confusion among many of our African American males about when and if politics is beneficial to them, what politics are beneficial. I think as an educator, I'd like to hear you talk about how even that lack of education of how politics plays into your life as a black male can be harsh in the black male's life and that ignorance can lead to damning behavior. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Mr. Simmons?
First off, I think with politics, it is one of those that's somebody else's. There's seemingly a mindset that somebody else will vote. Somebody else will champion the cause.
It'll work itself out.
It'll work itself out over time.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and it has not proven to be true for us at any point in our history. And to offset and say somebody else will do that. I think with that, I'm going to go back as an educator, so I have to speak from an educational standpoint. I was also a government teacher. And so one of my exercises I did with my children in the class was I took them to a community council meeting in order for the children to get a taste of active participation. And the issue was like a noise ordinance that was going on in the community, and basically it was something that was written up to tell kids who play loud music to turn the music down. If they don't, they're going to be pulled over and the police are going to get involved. And this was happening up in northwest Indiana around Gary and Maryville area. And so I took the kids there, got them involved, let them have an opportunity, shared with them, be prepared to speak and voice your opinion about this noise ordinance. And I share that with you because if children or young people are not put into positions to participate in government, then they fear government. It is something that other people do to them, not they're participating and they're getting involved with government. It's not government for the people, by the people, it's government for other people. And this is done to us. And so therefore we allow people such as our current president in office to rise to that position because somebody else is going to take care of that.
And promote his will upon us. And
so when he does that, or when politicians do that, then, man, what do we do? Well, we just wait till the next politician. Who's to say that the next politician will not pick up the mantle of the previous politician?
We must participate because, we see, for example, there's a father and his daughter washed ashore all on the news media, an immigrant who was affected by Trump's policies. Often when you don't participate, you don't realize, you think that's an immigration policy designed to stop these minorities. But lack of participation has a lot of African American males unaware that we are a larger minority now than Latinos in America.
That is true.
We are less than 18%. They are over 18%. The census will come out, probably prove they're more like 22%, and we are more like 16%. And so when you only see Trump's behavior toward immigrants or things that seem like they're only affecting certain groups that are not us, no, that's affecting even more of us. Cutting school lunches, cutting transportation, Nancy DeVos cutting education funds, slashing the participation of development of kindergartens. That is an African American issue, and if we're going to deal with black males, we got to deal with them early, whenever they become a black male, which is from birth.
Surely.
And I don't want to not to belabor this point too much, but like this pseudo abortion rights thrust, in my view, in the Republican Party, you cannot claim to care about not abortions and then cut the funding for the food for the babies that you didn't want aborted. But these are the types of issues we must get involved in if we could care about the holistic development of African American males. Mr. Simmons?
Yeah, I think that education is key in terms of our young folks knowing that we've got Trump in office now, And I've had kids come to me and say, Mr. Simmons, what do we do going forward? Mm-hmm. And the educational piece can get you there. They don't want another Trump in office.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So
at that young age, they recognize that.
15 years old.
Yeah.
So the word spreads. People start understanding that if you don't vote, this is what we're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So going
and keep
forward,
your nose clean so you can vote.
So you can vote.
That's right.
No felonies. Get in here, do what you're supposed to do, and let's change the tide of what's going on out here in this country.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. You brought up education. What do you say to the African American male who has dropped out of school, can't get employed, goes to the street? How can he turn his life around, Mr. Simmons?
Man, there's some harsh realities that are going to have to hit that young person. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when I have conversations with young men like that, I say, listen, education is the new currency.
I absolutely agree.
You can't get anywhere without education.
That's right.
You want to stand on the corner and sell, you're going to go to jail. Or you may even be killed. But if you get in here and commit to your education, there's a chance for you.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Simmons, I was watching something on Fox News to kind of help you with make your point, and because I watch all news, you know, the commentator was talking about how people who are going to get education now are having so much trouble getting jobs, so it's better to go out and get a job. And what he was notioning. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Then to get into debt, college debt, trying to get an education.
I've heard that.
So what these people are trying to do, who have this notion, is they are the business owners. Get work for my company.
Yeah.
Right.
But you didn't work for your company. Right. You went to college, and so there's even an assault on literacy from that perspective.
Right.
You are right. I am sitting at this table by the grace of God, but because I'm educated.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You guys are here because I respect your education, how you have articulated it. Mm-hmm. We are trying to send a message to African American males that there are several steps up any stairway. The first one is God.
Right.
The next one is your education.
Yes.
What do you guys think about that?
I think with that piece,
it's one of the.
I have heard that.
Yeah.
I have heard that, and the surface level rationale behind it seems and appears logical.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
They want to promote people getting jobs. I want a job, and so therefore I'm going to go and work. But what is not told...
And then comes on a Ford commercial where they want you to go get in $50,000 worth of debt for a car.
Right.
But not for your education.
Exactly. Right. And so now I'm on the job. I'm making X amount of dollars, mm-hmm. and I'm living fairly well, depending upon what my expenses are. Mm-hmm. Do I have a family? Mm-hmm. And so $15 an hour is good, possibly for a single person. But when you start adding pieces and you're growing your family and your trajectory as far as where you're going financially or need to be financially, you lose sight of that.
Right.
And then you can be there so many years, and then when it's time for promotion, thus comes in the education. Mm-hmm. We would love to promote you to a manager. Right. We know you've been here 15, 20 years.
Yeah, but Tom has that master's degree.
And he's only been here 1 day or 2 days, but he has the paper.
That's right.
And I've had this conversation with my own sons. I said, there's 2 types of paper that you need. One gives way to the other.
That's right. They are
educational
married.
Paper.
That's right.
That document
translates.
Says you are educated, and therefore you have a skill set to be able to do whatever that paper says you're able to do. Mm-hmm. If not more so, that gets you to the green paper. Please don't grab the green paper without having the white paper or the tan paper or whatever the sheepskin it is. Come on. You have to have that. And so therefore, when I talk to young people, I talk to them in ways that you have to understand education is paramount. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're going to do is going to require some level of education. Mm-hmm. Even though you say, well, I don't need education to do this, the fact that you know what to do there means that you got an education from somewhere, and it's important.
Mr. Simmons,
yes, sir.
Let me be adversarial here. Let me be adversarial, but I agree with you. Let me be adversarial about this. I'm a young man. You respond to me. You are dealing with the behaviors of young men at Phelan.
I am.
You're dealing with the safety issues at Phelan.
Absolutely.
Young man says, "Listen, I hear Floyd talking about all that education stuff, but
He's an educator, so
Bebe got the car I want. He didn't get educated. Bebe has got the Jordans I want. He's got the bling, the chain, and all that stuff that I want. Why waste my time fooling with education when I can not have education and I can deal with and get the stuff that Bebe has?" What is your response to me?
My response to you is, Bebe's longevity out here is going to end very quickly.
That's right. He may have it now. He won't have it for long.
Bebe will not be successful in the long run.
Right.
Do what you need to do now so you can do what you want to do later.
That's very good.
Get that education, man.
That's
I can't
right.
stress more to young black males how important it is to come up that way instead of the other way.
Absolutely.
Clyde, you and I have seen too many brothers
Absolutely.
we come up with that tried the other way
Absolutely.
and they are no longer with us.
Absolutely.
Or they're doing a 50-year bid.
That's right.
It doesn't work.
Or have to restart if they're fortunate enough to get out of the system. 60 when they restart. Not that you can restart, but just think about the choices we make.
Dr. Posley, I want to be able to kind of share an underlying thing to this too.
Sure.
From an educational standpoint, I have observed year after year after year parents not coming through the door for parent-teacher conferences. And it seems like, it's just parent-teacher conferences. What's the big deal? The big deal is it shows that you're involved with your child's education.
Interaction.
I do not necessarily believe that children do not want an education. I believe and have observed that children fall behind in their education at an early age because of lack of participation and knowledge and know-how and persistence of the parent, to be consistent with their education, to be alarmed when their report card is not showing what it needs to show, to be alarmed when the state standardized tests are constantly coming back low, and your children have attended school every 180 days out of the year.
Right.
And there's not enough alarm around there early enough. So therefore you get on the other end of this, children that are, I don't need that education.
Right.
Because education is something now foreign to me because I don't understand what goes on in that classroom.
The process, right.
The process.
And see, all this translates to what we're talking about. The need then to have to save when we didn't secure the black male.
Good point.
We end up having to try to go back and save them. Fellas, I'm going to have to apologize because I'm going to have y'all back.
All right.
It's just too much, man. It's just too much. Can I get you guys to come back just one more time?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, let's come back. Listen, I want to give each of you guys a 30-second opportunity to just kind of share your closing remarks and why this topic is so important. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Simmons. I'm going to close out with you, Mr. Floyd, and then I'll wrap us up for the day.
This topic is so important to me because it hits home with me. I've been a victim of gun violence myself. My son often comes to me and talks about things that he knew I went through as a young man. This is my platform. God put me in this space. I'm going to do everything I can to try to save lives out here. This is my mission. I have to do this. God has put this on my heart. He's put this on my spirit. And if I don't do what he says I'm supposed to do, I fail. So at the end of the day, these young men in Indianapolis, I have to get out here and do what I'm supposed to do.
I feel that from you, man.
Yeah.
Floyd?
As an educator and dealing with families and loving on families, I would have to say to those that are viewing today, it is most important that you consider where your children are, how they're progressing, how they're pursuing their education. Be involved. Don't just take any answer that the teachers give you. be involved, because your early investment will turn out in the end. My grandfather said it this way when I was complaining about going to the schoolhouse, and I'm an educator. Oh my gosh, I got to show up at the schoolhouse. Every time I look around, I'm at the schoolhouse, I'm having to do something. My grandfather said it this way. He said, you're going to pay one way or another. Either you're going to pay with your time and your resources to make sure these children get where they need to be, or you're going to pay the lawyers and the courthouse and the penitentiaries to house them. Invest where you need to invest and do what God has called you to do, and that's be a good parent.
That is powerful. Well, there you have it. This has been Moves That Mattered. Again, fantastic show. We are committed to having discourse that causes us to help save our African-American males. Don't miss next week. I'm going to have these brothers back. They are blessing our community. They are blessing our city, and I want to have them back with us. Listen, let me tell you something I say all the time. You are constantly making moves. Why don't you make the moves you're making moves that matter? I am your host, Dr. Clyde Posley. We will see you next Tuesday at 7:30. God bless your heart.